Hey there, on this episode of the Old Time Mini Show, I'm going to be making a mold for this Drallasite alien miniature from the 1983 Star Frontiers game. If I can remember how to deal with a miniature this small. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dan's Old Time Mini Show, and thanks for joining us again on the live stream if you're with us on YouTube or Twitch. So last time we were here, I got a chance to unbox a set of the 1983 miniatures from the TSR Star Frontiers science fiction game that I'm kind of a big fan of. I'm going to be running a campaign for that probably in a month or two, I think, with my friends. Hey, Hobo Ogre, glad to see you tonight. Glad you're there. So and so we went through this, and again, part of the reason is if it was a fantasy game, I could grab all kinds of orcs and ogres and trolls would be easy to come by, but for the specific aliens in this game, nobody else ever made any of them. Backways, thanks for checking in on the couple of channels there. And so what we decided, I haven't made molds and duplicated miniatures, and I think over about 10 years at this point. So I'm gonna have to live on camera remember how to do this, frankly, and if I glitch something up, that'll be part of the learning process for all of us. But what we decided to do is take this of the alien player characters in Star Frontiers, we decided to take one of these Drallasite kind of amoeba-men miniatures last time. It seemed like probably the easiest thing to make a mold for, and possibly if I glitch it up, nobody will know because it's kind of a shapeless blob anyway. So thanks TSR designers. That was well thought out. And then probably on future weeks we'll work our way up to the space monkey Yazirians and the insectoid centaur Vrusk, which is what I'm really worried about. Anyway, so everybody loves the Dralasites. Everybody loves a good Drallasite. So I'm going to be trying to make the first part of a mold to duplicate these. And again, these are kind of rare miniatures these days. If I want a party of Dralasites in my game, again, it's kind of a miniature heavy game. Or if my players are picky about how their aliens are painted, if they're miniature painters themselves, I could just hand them a couple copies for themselves if they want. So a couple different reasons why I would want to duplicate and have a number of these kind of rare Dralasites around. So opened this up last time, and this guy is mostly, I guess this is the casual Dralasite. He's just wearing this belt, a couple tools, and one of these kind of bulb trigger, I guess, laser pistols in his left hand there, in his left pseudopod, I should say. So I'll be making the first part of a mold. This is going to take 2 weeks to do it because I got to make a 2-part mold. One part this week. We'll come back next week if things work out, make the other part, and then hopefully we'll be casting him in metal the week after that. Just use gummy bears for Dralasites. Joshua! How dare you? What? Well, you play how you want. You can use Legos. I don't. You could use stand-up counters. All kinds of different things you could do. I kind of wanted to get back into casting some miniatures here. So obviously, don't don't take my insanity as a sign of something that you should really do. They'd be translucent. That's an interesting point there. Different options for your Dralasites there. Now, on that point, I should probably say this at the start of the different shows. So there is some safety issues I should probably mention if you get into possibly casting or molding your own miniatures. One of which is these old-time miniatures do have lead in them. So on the box, obviously from 1983. I think when I was talking to my partner Isabelle before I started the stream, she was saying, well, there's no way there's lead in miniatures anymore. And I said, they're from 1983. And she's like, oh, yes, there's a lot of lead in those. So I'll kind of be careful about this. Won't get it in a place where I'm doing, eating or something like that. after the stream is over, I'll definitely wash my hands carefully. And then the other thing tonight is I'm going to be using a silicone mold agent that potentially has some vapors in the air, so you want to be in a really well ventilated space. And then I also have a release spray agent and possibly some other things that you really don't want in the air around you. So for what it's worth, I'm here in Brooklyn, New York here tonight, kind of mid-February here. And to be perfectly safe, I've got my windows pretty much wide open, trying to ventilate my workspace, even though it's currently snowing outside here. I think it's 38 degrees as Fahrenheit as I start the stream here. So I'm trying to be careful. Frankly, I kind of tend to have my windows open anyway. I did grow up in Maine. I'm kind of accustomed to slightly cooler temperatures than some other people, so I'm actually okay with this. I also have a air quality monitor on my desk here, I'm not an expert enough to know if this is specifically going to pick up on what I'm using tonight, but this does have a monitor on carbon dioxide and HCHO, and also TVOC. Was that total volatile organic compounds? Everything's currently in the green as I start this tonight. So if one of these monitors pegs up into yellow or red, I'll adjust, and I'm trying to be safe. You could probably do better than I am if you had like a properly, fan ventilated space, which I don't. But I'm trying to do things a little punky here. So just kind of be aware of that. There's some risk. Another night, as you know, I'm going to be casting molten metal in my kitchen. That'll probably be in about 2 weeks. Yeah, Adam, the DM, has a good point. I like, the metal. I like the lead miniatures. As you saw last time, some of the little gun pieces were bent out of shape, and it was pretty easy for me to bend this guy's laser pistol back in shape. Had a little bit of flashing on the end of his pistol there that I removed just before the stream there. So I think that's what his alien gun is supposed to look like. I think little Buck Rogers-y. So yeah, so I actually properly handled. I kind of don't mind these things myself. Cool. Yeah. Nonetheless, if I modify it, sometimes I get little bits around, and I'll be washing my hands carefully afterwards. But I think it's okay. I think. I don't think that my mental issues are due to the lead miniatures that I've used in the past. I don't think. You never know. I am a child of the 70s. Remember gasoline was leaded? That probably had way more of effect on us kids from the 70s than our little miniatures that we're playing with. Okay, so among other things, so making a mold for this out of the way. I have a bunch of gear all around me that I was digging out before the stream here, trying to remember how to do this. Okay, I'm talking about the safety issues. And if I forget one of those items, feel free to jump in the chat and tell me that I'm doing something stupid. I will also say that the overall process for doing this is kind of stuff that I've sort of come up with myself. So if you know a better way of going about any of this, feel free to tell us in the chat. I kind of sort of had to self-discover this. Again, my partner Isabelle does have a master in fine arts and sculpting, so she has done sculpting and she's done mold making, and she loves the sculpting and she hates the mold making. So a lot of it, when I would go to Isabelle for advice, a lot of times she's like, that's your problem, buddy. I try not to do so much mold making. So let's see here. So there's this. Where is here is the episode plan. Okay, so I'm gonna make half of this. All right. So in the past, when I made, you gotta make a box for the molding. I should grab the material that I'm using. So I got a nice brand new box of this material that I use to make my molds. Don't lose track of the Drallasite. So I'm using this E02 product that comes from a company called Smooth On. There's probably other companies, but I've used this in the past, and it's what Isabelle recommended for me, frankly. So it's a two-part mold. There's one bottle in here of blue stuff and one bottle of here of yellow stuff. So you're gonna mix it up. It's gonna turn to this purple stuff here, and you'll have I think like 30 minutes. I guess once you mix it up, it's got 30 minutes that you can pour it. And then it says the cure time here is about 6 hours. So you're gonna wait at least 6 hours. To be safe, I usually wait a day. Possibly depends on humidity. And for the stream purposes here, I will be waiting a whole week, so I won't demold the first part until next week. This stuff is sort of the beginner silicone rubber material. Smooth On makes probably like 20 different products, but this is sort of the beginner material. And the more professional products, right? If you advance, let me see here. So Cal's saying there's a member in the Facebook group for Old School Miniatures that could get tested from all the lead handling. Eek. Okay. Well, good luck to those folks. So the Umo product here. So there's more professional grades that have different like surface capacities, different curing times, different like sensitivities. There's some products that are specifically made for like movie prosthetics, right? That are safe to have on your skin. This stuff is not made to be safe on your skin for days at a time. Obviously, that's not part of what we're doing here. And with those more advanced things, usually you need some additional equipment, like it's always a two-part mold. Like for example, one of the parts, you've got to have a machine to vacuum degas it when you open the container. So gases build up, change how it reacts, and you have to have a vacuum degasser. This product here doesn't need that. Okay, so I don't need to have a vacuum degasser. And the other thing is, by nature, you probably need a lot of one of the parts and need a little bit of the other part. So you would need a gram level scale to measure the 10-to-1 ratio or whatever it is. With this product, it's specifically designed to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So the intent is that you have two plastic cups. You pour out the two products, and you can just visually check to see whether they're the same, and then mix them together, and then you've got your product there. So no scale measuring and no vacuum degassing or stuff like that. So as a beginner, you can get started with kind of a small amount of equipment. And it works well enough for me. I considered using a more advanced product for this stream here, but the pros and cons would be, the mold that I made would be more durable, I guess. And I've made, my spaceship molds over 10 years ago, and they're still viable. But the more professional thing would, once you open the containers, would go bad very, very quickly. So I'm still going to be using this beginner stuff that, I think I've had this stuff sit around for at least 6 months and still be okay, usable. So that is what clinched the decision for me to continue using the E02 beginner stuff. I think the 30 means that you got 30 minutes once you mix it to use it, I believe is what that is. So there's that. Well, that's a good point, right? To date, I have managed to avoid eating my lead miniatures. I have not intentionally put any of them into my mouth yet. Okay, so there's your blue stuff and your yellow stuff there. I'm going to have to open this up because it's brand new. It says stir well before using on both of these. And for what it's worth, if you see a video marketing this stuff, they'll have two big cups, and they want to mold, I don't know, like a lawn ornament or something like that. And they're just, obviously the producer is going to pour an enormous amount of this silicone rubber material, mix it together, and maybe you've got a mold that's 3 times bigger than you really needed. So since my heart is small and I'm stingy and cheap, I try to be efficient with this and use as little as I possibly can. So I try to design a mold frame that's just the smallest thing I can possibly get. Measure it, do some math, and then I have a cup, right? And I just pour it in one single cup that I've measured out in cubic inches, right? And so pour half what I need, pour the other half what I need, mix it up into one cup, not get too much stuck in the one cup, hopefully, and try to be efficient with this, and hopefully I can make a whole bunch of molds out of my one product there. We'll see if I manage to do that tonight. There. But before I do that, I got to make a frame to hold the mold. And what I did in the past is I would, for any particular miniature of different size, I would make a custom frame. You can buy, movie studios, right, would have, like, if they made something big, they'd probably have like something made out of wood. For Isabelle's large sculptures, she has a number of like wooden corners that she custom made to hold the frame together. For my little things, what I was doing previously is I would take some poster board, actually, measure it to just the right size, cut it up, right, and make a poster board box. For the bottom half, fill it in with some kind of molding clay. The rubber material for the first half goes on top of the miniature. But the poster board would work. My custom poster board would, it's cheap, which is great. Would work kind of okay for really small stuff, but the rubber material, the big problem with these things is the rubber material is always going to threaten to leak out the edges. So I would have to glue it. I would have to use tape on the edges in an attempt to keep stuff from leaking. And then as I made larger and larger miniatures, the bulk of the rubber would bend my little fragile poster board. So it would bulge out, and I'd need more, and it would possibly leak. So I'm going to try something totally different. I've never done this before, but I guess I saw this as a possible suggestion. Is I want something with a little bit more structure to the frame, so I don't have to worry about stuff bulging out or the amount of rubber that I need changing on the fly. So what I got here is got some little building blocks, right? So something like Legos. These are my own kind of building blocks that I've had for quite some time. So some Lego knockoffs. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fashion. This was like an attempt with a different miniature, I think. So I'm going to fashion a little mold box here that's just the right size for... I should probably name this guy, right? What is this guy's? So Dralasites tend to have like blorpy names. Is tend to what they have. So I don't know. So I'm going to just call this Blorpy the Dralisite. So I'm going to make a little box here that's just the right size for Blorpy, as well as I need a little pore hole that I fashioned before the stream here. So if I grab, one of the prior molds. All right, problem number one. Okay, so here's one of these pre-made Duncan molds, right, that I've had for quite some time. And as you can see here, you need, when you melt the metal, you need a target to pour it into. So here's, one of the orcs or goblins here, and you need, a good sized target to put the metal into that connects at some point. So I fashioned out of clay with a little bit of wire there, is what I do. Kind of a small thing to create a pore hole into Blorpy's head is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put him like this. No, that's not what I should do. This is me remembering how to do this. I should do it like this. And wait, if I do it like that, do I need the pore hole? Because the base could be the pore hole, right? That could be the pore. Oh. Okay, so here I am discovering stuff on the fly here. Yeah, I could just use the base itself as the pore hole, put them upside down like this. That's what I ought to do. Now that's not what the Duncan miniatures did. They had the base down here. Now I'm torn. Let me think about that. Yeah, so Disparrow mentioned, 3D printing which is what, most people would do nowadays. So I'm intentionally doing something a little different, right? Something a little more old-timey before 3D printing was available. So that's kind of the goal here of the stream, Yeah. Okay, that's a good point, Disparrow. Right. If I try to use the base, as a pore hole, right. That's right. That would be a bad idea because it could be thinner or thicker depending on how much material. And I couldn't if it bulges up, it would be super hard to cut it off. I shouldn't do that. I should use this as a model. Again, this is actually the first time that I've done player character miniatures that stand vertically, right? In the past, I was making spaceship miniatures, which are mostly cylindrical and are going to be sitting on posts horizontally. So this is actually, you're witnessing the first time I've had to think about this, but obviously this is the better way to go about it. I'll use my standard pore hole, and then there'll be a little bit of extra stuff jutting out of his head, and I can just easily snip that off, right? Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Yeah, so usually what happens is I do this, and then I have to, once I make the mold, I usually have to modify it a little bit, and it's a little bit of an experimentation when I cast it. Is the channel might be too small, and I would take an X-Acto knife and I just kind of adjust the channel a couple times. I get a couple malformed casts, and then if one of the limbs is not filling in properly, then I cut in a little air channel for that, is what I tend to do on the fly. I tend not to do that in advance because sometimes it just works perfectly fine without that. But if you have kind of a extended thin limb or a strut or something like that, you might need to do that. I don't usually do that to begin with when I make the mold because I can just cut more stuff out later. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have it like this, and I'm going to make a box here, frame, to hold just about that size and not waste too much mold material. Now, sometimes bigger is easier, right? I'm probably going to fight a little bit to fit stuff in, and my obviously this thing's smaller than one of my fingers. So the challenge here tonight might possibly be, can I make it small enough to not waste a whole lot of molding agent? We'll see. Okay. So something about that big. What you'll find, like in about 2 weeks when I start casting it in metal, you'll find that the molten metal actually cools down surprisingly quickly. Like I can almost, if I recall correctly, I hope I'm not misremembering because I could get in trouble. I can melt the metal, pour it. Frankly, most of the time is just waiting for the metal to melt on my stove, or you could use a hot plate or something. And then I can pour it, and almost within a minute, I can crack it open, and it'll be warm, and take it out and check how it's going. So if I'm smart, I can kind of iterate on how well the mold's working by casting and checking and cutting and casting and checking and cutting. And obviously, I get to play with my knockoff Legos here as part of this. About that size. Don't need that big here. I don't even need it that thick, do I? I could bring it in like this. Is that good? That'll do, right? I think, let me grab, I'm just going to compare to the smallest mold I ever made before. So here is the mold I made for the Cathar fighter. which is actually something I sculpted myself actually by hand. It's not something that comes with the product miniatures. So I made a very, very small, very simple little Cathar fighter miniature and made a mold for this. So this is the smallest thing I ever made. This is just about the same scale, right? So I've done this kind of thing before, and this is just about the same size actually. So according to this should work, right? This worked before. For what it's worth, when I made the custom fighter miniatures, I sculpted one by hand. Very simple, very small, right? Made one cast, made one mold for it, cast 3 of them, glued 3 of them together, then made a mold for the trio. And what I actually have mounted is little trios of 3 copies of my Cathar fighters. And same for the good guy fighters. So yeah, okay, so a mold this size ought to be viable. Okay. All right, so then you should build it up with, alternating bricks, obviously, like a brickwork. Don't do the same thing. Oops. Oh, that edge doesn't work that way. I guess, if I come around like this, do I dare not connect that edge up? Also, I wasn't smart enough to have any partial pieces. Should I? That seems too small if I do that. I don't think I dare do that. Well, you know what? I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to make this wider by 1. What do you call these dots on the Legos? I want to call them pips. See, as I do this myself, I have to make up all my own terminology for a bunch of stuff. There's something coming up that I think I just learned the name for tonight, talking to Ms. Garbani. So that. Just want to make sure I have kind of good structure here to this box. Oh. Come on, bricks. Like that seems good. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That seems. God, I hate how it's really wider than I need. Yeah. Yeah, I should get some of the. Right, I should get some of my spaceship fleet on camera. I mean, you see in the intro to the show, little teaser trailer, you see a number of the spaceships I made in the past. Studs. Thanks, studs. I'm really picky about trying to make things as efficient as possible, so the fact that this is a little wider than I needed is irritating me. So I'll be wasting a little bit of rubber here tonight, but I'm gonna go with this. It's the first time I've used this technique for making a box. So I'm gonna play it safe the first time. Like that. So there's blobby. Okay, now the question now is, how do you keep the rubber material from leaking out? Right, no matter how you make a box. Thanks, Backwards, for putting that link in there to my prior spaceship stuff on my blog. So no matter what you do, there's always going to be, even if you get a pre-made framing device, there's some issue of what do you do to seal it to keep the mold from running out the cracks of the seals. So some products will just like tape it up, like I've done in the past. Some will say, like, you can have, there are products you can buy that latch together really nicely on the sides, but then you just have to deal with the bottom some other way. I think the idea there is get a surface like maybe a plate of marble or something, and get a glue gun, right, and seal the whole thing from where it touches the floor with a glue gun. And I didn't, we have one here. I kind of didn't want to do that. So the attempt for the first time ever is I'm going to take some saran wrap and I'm going to line the whole inside with this. I have no idea whether it's going to work or not. Try to get that shape in there. And fortunately, I can kind of lock it in place with some other bricks. I think that's the shape. I think that's pretty good. I guess this is another good reason to have a little bit of extra space, to err on the side of having extra space here in case I've make the corners misshapen or something. Gonna try that. Okay, so now, right, it's gonna be a 2-part mold. So where I pour, is that high enough? I might be making this too short. What did I do before? Okay, so here's my fighter miniature. Well, that's exactly the same height as I did before. So apparently this should work. Although it might have been a smaller miniature. That might have been a smaller miniature there before, so it has much less depth than Blorpy does. So should I make this taller? I guess, okay, well, again, I'm gonna err on being safe here tonight. Not screwing this up too bad. Okay, so I'm gonna put another layer of bricks here. And if I'm smart, I'll avoid actually filling it to the brim. With this new technique. Okay, so there's that. So a little bit deeper. Clearly thick enough. Geez, that's going to be a lot of rubber. Plain old safe, it's fine. Okay, so line it with the wrap. Okay, lock it in place. I've seen products online that's like a mold frame making device that's totally just Legos. So that's kind of where I get this. Okay, so there's my safe mold frame for Blorpy here. So for this first half of the two-part mold, I'm going to fill the bottom end of it with some modeling clay. So I went to my local dollar store and I just got some cheap, like everything I have here is going to be some generic knockoff. So I just bought some cheap modeling dough, right? You get Play-Doh or whatever your preferred generic is. And I'm going to open this up. I am being a little bit more liberal with the rubber than I have been in the past, but I think that your argument that this makes sense for a new process is solid. So I'll use the orange to begin with. What would be? I'm really worried that I'm going to lose Blorpy. I have a little container here to hold him because I keep thinking I'm going to lose where he is. So probably the I think what would be more visible as I work on him. Probably the black, I guess. And if I'm really sharp, sometimes I can reuse the modeling dough for a little bit. This stuff doesn't last very long. But even that, I try to reclaim. I don't know if it's sealed up for a week. Is that gonna? I don't know if that's gonna be viable or not. Anyway, so here I am filling in the bottom half, which is gonna not have rubber in it. And then in a week, we'll, if things work out, in a week we'll flip it over. We'll take the clay out, and then that side will get rubber when we flip it over next time. Oops. Lost my floor there for a second. Okay, so I can track how high it is by what brick it's on, right? Excellent. So I'm up, so this is three big bricks high, and I've got it a little bit under the 1.5 point. Oops. Okay, so turn it all the way around to make sure you're getting all the corners. Okay. Oh, I just realized my my pore hole is going to disappear in the black modeling dough. Okay. Yeah, like so. Pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. I think sort of recollect how to do this, I think. Okay, so there's that basically. So now I'm going to place the pore hole and Blorpy in here. All right, so I'm going to place the pore hole first because obviously that has to be on the edge. So find a good place for it kind of at the top here and put it right on the edge. All right, just halfway down. Like that. You can see that there. Right, so okay, note to self, use the orange stuff next time so you can see this. But anyway, you can kind of see where that is. And then I'm going to take Blorpy, my Drallasite, and push him in, right, so his head connects with the pore hole. And ideally, you know, I'm sure there's some experts that are better at this, so I kind of want stuff to be supported, right? I want him as close to evenly horizontal as possible. So I'm going to push him in about to where his arms are. And then his gun, I think if I was super smart, I would have his gun supported. So I'm going to try to push him in just to pump to the level where his gun and his right arm are right at the edge of the clay here, I think. I think I can do that. Oops. Okay. All right, this is where the glasses come off. Okay, so I think I want to support that left arm a little bit better. It's on camera there. Initially, I get his head bumping up against the side of the pore hole, and I had to adjust it there. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think that's pretty good, right? Okay, so kind of got him kind of embedded in there. For the first half of the mold there. Pretty good. He's centered, right? So there's going to be plenty of space, like rubber space, to kind of protect him there. I think that's pretty recent, pretty decent, right? Okay, let's put the dough back. All right, now let me see. Do I do the release agent now, or do I mix the rubber? I guess I should mix the rubber because I get 30 minutes of use once I do that. Is that what I do? I should have written this down. I should have written down a checklist of how I do this. Okay. Oh wait, it's math time, right? I got to figure out how much rubber am I going to use. Okay, so. Calculator, pen and paper. Okay, so I should have measured before I put the dough in. Okay, so the total height, the total interior height, it's half an inch per brick is what it looks like. So the total interior height is 1.5 inches. 1.5. And let me see, a little bit less than 2 inches is what I'm getting here. A little bit less than 2 inches wide. This is more like 1 3/4 inches. Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm trying to be efficient about this. So 1.75 inches in both length and width. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay, that's square. Okay, so the grand total volume inside, just kind of figuring this here, 1.5 times 1.75 times 1.75. Okay, so I'm getting 4.6 cubic inches. Now I'm filling half of it basically. Divided by 2. So obviously that's 2.3 cubic inches for half of it. Oh god. So each of my gradations is 3.6 cubic inches. Let me see. And now, okay, so that's less than 1. Does that make sense? Less than 1 of these units? Yeah. So I need less than the 3.6 cubic inches. Let me just estimate. So 2 by 2 by times 1.5, 4 times 1.5 would be 6, and then half it would be 3. Yeah. Redo that. 1.5 times 1.75 times 1.75. Yeah, 4.6 cubic inches, and I'm dividing by 2 because I'm only filling half of it here. Okay, so I suppose I could just fill it to the 1 unit on my cup there. Of course, that's a bad place for that. So, of course, I have 2 separate parts to the rubber, so each part should be about 1.2 inches cubed, which is 1/3 of my unit. Okay, that's what I'm coming up with. Okay, so this isn't quite the right size. Again, I've done much larger stuff than this. So when I pour one part, I'm going to try to fill it up to about 1/3 here. And when I pour the second part, I'm going to try to get it to about 2/3 of this unit. And then mix it up. And I think that's how much rubber I need for this particular pour, I think. I suppose I could just pour it like halfway to the one and halfway to the one and be safe like that. I suppose some of it's going to stick to the cup itself. Again, doing something this small, probably a larger proportion of what I pour is going to get stuck on the cup. So I suppose I could just fill it to a half and a half for the two parts. I guess that's what I'll do. Yeah, so Disparel, that's exactly how I counted this in the first place, right? And obviously this cup isn't even a perfect cylinder. So when I measured it the first time, that's exactly what I did. I used my smallest measuring cup to get that 1/4 cup unit. So great minds think alike. That's exactly how I did this. Again, this particular mold is like smaller, is as small as anything I've ever done. So that's challenging the lower limit of the unit that I picked. All right, let's open up the silicone rubber compound. So I do have to open these up, and it does say stir well before using. Use at room temperature. That's all very good. So I got, I usually use wooden chopsticks for my stirring implements, is what I got here. So I'll use separate ones on the two. I don't want to cross-contaminate the two jars because that'll cause one of them to solidify really quickly. And I should also put down some paper in case I scramble this up. Just in case I start dumping rubber on my desk. Okay, so many things. So one's part. So stir part A and start B thoroughly. So part A. Which is part A and which is part B? This is part B. This is part A. Okay, so I'm supposed to pour this first, eh? I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna read what it says on the bottle, just because again I haven't used this in a while, but I'm pretty sure I remember how to do this. So mix in the ratio 1:1 A and B. Or if you did it by weight, you could do 100 parts of A to 130 parts of B. Because you're a professional mold maker, you're probably just planning on using a scale anyway, I guess is what that's saying. But by volume, it's 1:1, which is what I'm doing. So Umu 30 is a fast cure, pourable silicone for making pour-on rubber molds. Parts A and B are mixed in equal amounts. The pot life is 30 minutes. The rubber cures at 73 degrees Fahrenheit or 23 Celsius in about 6 hours. Store and use at the same temperature, basically. Read the technical bulletin. I'm pretty sure I've done that in the past. And the SDS before using, available at smoothon.com. Important, limited shelf life, use as soon as possible. But again, I think this is actually a little bit better than some of the more professional stuff. Store part A and part B thoroughly before dispensing. Extra warning for California. So I think if I recall correctly, right, I remember this has some vapors to it. You're supposed to use in a well-ventilated space, possibly better than what I've got. They recommend using latex gloves when you're handling this. I've never done that. I tend to get I get some stuff on my hands and kind of clean them afterwards. You can do better than I do, frankly. Again, I have my windows open here. It snows tonight in New York. Hence the hat, if anybody hadn't put that together. So part A. Ah, crap. Okay, there's issue number one. I put my scissors too far into the bottle. A little gunk there on the scissors. Probably I could you know, I should use a better implement than the scissors actually when I do that. Yeah, you know, when I started the stream, right, like when I was planning the stream like 2 weeks ago, and when I started last week ago, it was abnormally warm. And so I was thinking, ah, great, I got lucky. And I'll be perfectly fine. So yeah, I am hoping that maybe things get warmer another week. Particularly when I'm casting in the kitchen. I'm really gonna need the window open for that. And I'm stirring. This seems pretty homogeneous to me. That's a tough stir is what that is. You know, it's funny with the durability of this stuff. Like I've had a supply that lasted like a whole year, I think. I was making molds off and on. And then I got like replacement, same stuff. And geez, it hardened within like 3 months. And I'm not sure what the difference was, but that seems about as much as I can stir that. Try to get as much back in the bottle as possible. Obviously, when we're done here, I'm going to actually cure it in a slightly warmer room. I think pouring it will be kind of okay. I hope it's not too cold for this. I hope. All right, and here's part B. I'm a little nervous because I haven't done this in a long time. Use a proper knife. Maybe that'll be better. It's right up against the top of the thing. All right, I might need to shut up and focus on this because I got bladed implements and I got this goop that's about to go everywhere. All right, so I'm mixing, stirring the blue stem. This is a much easier stir for what it's worth. This is much more liquidy, I guess I want to say. That's easy. One thing that's like, you know, mentally, you know, like why I consider using a different product is clearly they must, in order to make it equal volumes, they clearly had to arbitrarily bulk up one of the components. To make it easy for beginners to not need a scale. So in some part of my brain thinks it would be more efficient to use stuff that you did weigh out. Maybe this part just has more water in it or something to make that happen. I don't know. Okay, that seems pretty smooth to me. Every time I dip it in there, it takes more out. Ah. All right, so at this point I have some on my hands. All right, here's my measuring cup. All right, so that's part B there. So here comes part A, and I'm trying to get this halfway up to my measuring stuff. The pink stuff about halfway. That seems halfway-ish to me. Keep a good supply of paper towels next to you. All right, and then pour. That's more. That's yeah. I couldn't even get it halfway. Never mind. Never mind the third that I kind of wanted. Where are you, camera? You don't want to paper it. So many things. Okay, so here's the blue stuff, about as much. So now I need to be a little bit more than the 1 based on how much pink stuff I put in. So a little bit more than the 1. Of course, it doesn't go all entirely evenly. Okay, I can pour more slowly, right? That seems about right, I think. Eh? No, is that what? Okay, I'm just going to trust the process, right? The blue stuff went into the middle of the pink stuff. So I'm just going to trust that I've got twice as much volume as I started with. So stir this together. It'll become a nice purple color. It seems a little bluish to me. Stuff is jammed at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to wind up using way more rubber than I expected because I don't think I get the ratio right. Unless the 10 years since I used this, it comes up to be a different color. This seems too blue to me. It's mostly blue is what it seems like. Compared to the, that seems pretty blue. Yeah. I recall, I think it turned, I mean, unless I'm thinking of like the green sculpty stuff, if I recalled, I thought the color turned pretty quickly. I'm going to throw, here's what it used to look like. That's pretty close. I'm gonna throw a little bit more of the pink stuff in here. I'm gonna trust my gut here. Not too much, just okay. Let's call that good. Hopefully I can get more efficient. Okay, that seems better. Still a little blue, but I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go halfway between what the numbers said and what my gut said. Hopefully there's a happy medium. Okay, so I have the rubber compound mixed up. Now before I pour it, right, I have this agent I'm gonna add here. What is in front of the camera? Okay, so I have this easy release agent here from Man Technologies, right? General purpose mold release for use with silicones, urethanes, and resins. So I'm going to spray this. Get off there. So I'm going to spray this in on Blorpy and the dough and the pour hole, so that after the rubber cures, hopefully it'll come off more cleanly from all that stuff. Now this stuff, this is pretty toxic. So yeah, can I make a mold for a second Drallasite here quickly enough? I don't know. I think it's been more than 30 minutes, right? So this I'm going to step over just for a minute to my window and kind of actually lean out my window on the 3rd floor here and spray this. This stuff I really don't want. Contains no CFC solvents or propellants. So directions. Okay, shake well before using. Got it. Hold can 12 inches from the model surface. Apply a light mist coating to all the surfaces. Brush with a soft brush. Probably not going to do that. Over all the surfaces. And apply another light mist coating. And let stand for 5 minutes before applying material. I think I used to do... This is so small. I think I just used to do this once, I think. I do expect that maybe in the future I'll be able to make 2 molds in one stream, maybe. You know, and I've certainly, the other thing I've done is I have made molds that have 3 figures in the one mold, kind of like this Duncan mold. Like I have molds that have like 3 Star Frontiers frigates at a time, which is the smallest capital ships, I think. But to start with, I'm trying to be simple. Okay, hopefully that's shaken off. So I'm just going to step over my window for a minute here and spray this. Not in the face again. Smelly. Okay. Of course, I got this on my hands. Yeah, so I actually leaned out the window. There's what I did. I've adjusted this, haven't I? Okay, that's a little stinky. Air quality monitor, everything I'm checking still says green. Okay, so now I'm going to pour this. And I have more than enough, obviously. So just pouring this in over Blorpy. Ooh, that is legitimately stinky. Oh no, I'm forgetting. Oh God, it was dribbling out of the cup. I knew there was, I forget this all the goddamn time. Sorry. There's one other thing that I always forget. Oh God, okay. You need, I forget this all the time. Isabelle, I forget, there's one other thing that I forget all the time. And I have a post-it note to remind me, and Isabelle warned me, and that is like, if you look at one of these Duncan molds, right, you have these notches, right? You have these notches so the 2 parts line up in the right place when you put it together. I need to make that, right? I need to make that. So I've so many times I've forgotten this, and then you can't properly line the 2 parts up reliably. So historically, I think I've called them notches or tabs. These little things right here. I believe Isabelle tonight told me they're called registers, I guess is what they're called. Question mark? So, God, I forget that all the time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to poke. Just going to poke little holes, and the rubber is going to go down into them and form the tabs, the registers, I guess. I guess I'll make 3 of them. If the mold was bigger, you could do something more elaborate. But I just take a little dowel or a chopstick and just kind of poke holes. And now I gotta go back to my window. I gotta release agent this, because now the holes don't have release agent in them. Be right back. I literally had it dribbling. I literally had it pouring out of the cup, and I caught it in midair with this part that I always forget. Okay. don't forget about the notches. In the future, I'm going to need folks in the chat to remind me, because I inevitably forget that no matter how many notes I give to myself. Okay, here we go. Studs? Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. Now I'm pouring. There we go. Okay, and you know, try to get it even. You can shake it a little bit afterwards, but you know, even's certainly better. The first time I'm using the Saran wrap sealer. Might as well use it all up here. All right, so I have quite a bit of rubber here that you know, I didn't really need. But it's hard to get it exact with this such a small amount. Right. And this will, you know, in the cup, this will solidify, and you just peel it out later. I've used that many times. All right, so these blobby down in there someplace. All right, so that's what we wanted to get done. So there's that should be the first part of the mold, of the two-part mold. And again, that there takes at least 6 hours to set. I always give it a full day. You know, be a little patient. I'm not going to do 2 parts in one day. I don't think I've ever done that. So I'd let that sit at least overnight, come back the next day. Here on the stream, I'll let it sit for a whole week. Come back next Thursday, and we'll see together whether that worked properly or not. And basically unbox it, flip it over, right, rebox it, dig out the dough, and then this rubber will be on the bottom, obviously, and then pour the other half on top, and then you'll have your two-part mold, hopefully. So I guess I didn't screw that up too bad. Got a little bit of agent on my fingers. Didn't exactly get the right amount of rubber compound that I wanted, but I think with something this small, I'm kind of within the margin of error anyway, so that might be as good as I can get it, I think. Hopefully I get the 2 parts. That looks about, again, this is like 10 years old, so this also might get discolored over time, but that looks about the right mixture, pretty much, right? Pretty close. So hopefully I get the compound right, and that's going to seal and set properly when we let it cure for a whole week here. And that's more or less what the process is. So hopefully next week that'll work. I can demold it. I can make the other half, and then in 2 weeks' time we'll have an actual mold that I can go and cast a host of Dralasites in my kitchen out of molding metal, I hope. Level out the leftover mold in the cup. We can make it into a rotunda fortress for Book of War. A really short one, right? Yeah, get the spoon out. I guess it could be a little hill, William? There. So I actually did level that out. Hopefully I can dig that out and have something useful there. I think I've probably just thrown that away in the past. Maybe we can use that. Cool. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a hill at best, maybe. Something. Good point. All right, how long did that take? That was only 1 hour and 15 minutes, right? It's not too bad. I thought that so, you know, nothing that I do takes a short amount of time, right? Anything that I do always takes much longer than normal people. So maybe an expert at this, and if they weren't like yakking the whole time, could do this in half the time, maybe less. we'll see in the future if I can possibly ramp that up. But I think that's I don't think I want to push it any more than that. I feel that. I definitely want to make the best use I can of this stuff. I think I think that package of stuff cost me about $30. I had to get it shipped online. Usually an art store. It's pretty common to have that stuff in an art store, I think. There aren't any super close by me. And the air quality seems okay for what it's. So just checking on the air quality, I'm still in the green on everything. So if you're willing to have your window open, both your windows open, at approximately freezing wind chill, like I am, no problem. Oh, that's good. Flour sacks and barrels from your leftovers. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I wonder what I could. Yeah, what could I make? I mean, I could make. If I'd prepared, maybe I could use that for something. Good question. That's good. I mean, I have a little cup like this. I could make a hill out of this, maybe. Something. That's very clever. Cool. We should. Okay. Now I'll take the moment. If you're new to the channel, this is part of the Wandering DMs channel, and we are on YouTube and Twitch when we stream. We do have a Patreon, and we have just the best patrons supporting what we do. So if you would like to support us, we have like a $1 tier. You can go to patreon.com/wanderingdms. And among other things, joining there gets you access to our Discord server for Wandering DMs. And we're talking about, all the time, we're talking about old school D&D and horror games and science fiction and miniatures. And people like William and other folks are always sharing what they're constructing in their miniature crafting laboratory. So if you've got ideas for what I can use the excess rubber for, feel free to get on our Discord server and tell me, and I'll prep for that next week. That's a really smart. Yeah. Disparel, thanks for checking the pricing on the silicone rubber. So $30 is what I thought there. And you have, like I say, the more professional stuff you can get in like gallon tubs. It might not be this Umu 30, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're seeing that. But the other stuff, they come in gallon tubs. Again, they for movie making, prosthetics or products or corpses or whatever you need. So it's kind of interesting. If you are interested in this, I would definitely say get this starter pack. The stuff that I do is small enough for role playing miniatures that I can make a whole bunch of molds and kind of experiment with it. And again, I've had one of these packs last me 6 months to a year. So for what I'm doing, this the starter pack is perfectly fine. Cool. So let me see. So I was thinking about, if we had time here tonight, I was thinking about opening up the other package of Star Frontiers miniatures that we didn't get to last week. And maybe that'll give us some ideas for what miniatures to focus on next. Like, again, the Dralasites, I think, are a pretty good thing to begin with. So maybe I'll carefully put this to the side, and I'll grab the 1984 Star Frontiers miniatures and crack that open, unbox that. I think might be interesting. And let's see, because one of the things, again, in this pack, the as we saw last time, the insectoid brusque miniatures have these really, really spindly little legs, as we saw, and I think maybe the other pack did something different that might be easier for me to mold, maybe. So let's investigate that. Let me carefully put this stuff away. Oh, there's the instructions, the Umu that I didn't. We don't need that. I'm pretty sure I've read that in the past, but I didn't feel like I needed to reread it. So put that back. This is gonna cure here in the cup, and maybe I get like a little hill out of it at the end, or maybe in the future I'll do something smarter with that. My various mixing sticks. Don't get that anywhere. Put on some paper. My molding dough. Maybe I should, another night I should pull out some of my bigger spaceship miniatures. Because obviously, the challenge tonight was to do something really small. But I have, with the spaceship miniatures, they get to multi-part miniatures, and I've duplicated those. And then with the good guys in Star Frontiers are called the UPF, the United Planetary Federation, right? That's what it is, the United Planetary Federation. And so they have, their biggest thing is a battleship. But weirdly, the battleship miniature doesn't match how big it is, described in the game. So I actually I sculpted kind of an amateur extension component. So I have like a full-sized actual battleship that's like, it took a lot of metal. It's heavy as hell. I should probably show that, but I had to I made an extra large battleship that's different than what actually comes in the product. Yes, exactly. So be careful. So Disparel, you're doing the same research that I did like a week and a half ago, and I was really close to getting that other stuff, but you got to pay attention to the curing time, the pot time, right? How long you have to pour it, like I did here, whether you need to evacuate it, and whether you need to a gram scale measuring device. And so this is, I almost picked something more advanced, but again, as I came back to the beginner stuff, Okay, so take this. I just put this to the side because I don't want the bottom to fall out. I mean, now I'm almost like, could I make another mold for it? I don't have enough bricks. I don't think I have enough bricks to make another mold right now. I need better flooring material. Anyway, so let's crack open, let's unbox another thing here. So last time, right, here's the Star Frontiers player characters from 1983. And we picked out this guy right here to duplicate. Yeah, you're right. The blue bottle has blue stuff and the yellow bottle has pink stuff. You're right. I wonder if a pink bottle was hard to make. That's a good question. Maybe, blue and yellow, they're complementary, right? Maybe it's easier to distinguish? I don't know. Good question. But anyway, so there's this other box of miniatures that came the next year. This, right, labeled Spacefarers. And they also have, I think they have random aliens. They had single miniature packs in stores of the Star Frontier, the trademark alien, the trademark monster races. Because if you don't know, the bad guy, the wormy Sathar, are very much into, mad wizardy genetic experimentation to take normal animals and turn them into hideous monstrosities. So you have some, kind of unique miniatures for that. They also had a pack of robots. And I think, as I said last time, if you look for the robots boxes on eBay, they're like $150 for half this sized number of miniatures. So I don't have that available, but I do have these. So these were produced in 1984, right? This was 2 years after the game was produced originally. Yep, still in shrink. Yep, so I'm going to take that off right now. See what's inside. Whoops, keep moving that around. I'm a little constrained. Well, I have so much stuff back here. I'm a little constrained for space. So I keep bumping the camera. I apologize. Can somewhere it's easier to get to. Also, don't bump my curing mold. Yeah, Lord Pseudo, good to see you tonight. Okay, so, oh, now the other box I had last week, right, was all scrambled up. Like it must have been stored, you know, on the side and everything else because the foam was all crushed, frankly, and all the miniatures were scrambled up in one box, more or less. This seems to have been stored much more carefully because everything's still in really good position there. Yeah, who did the cover art? That's a good guess. I don't think it's credited here. It's a really good guess. That kind of looks like Jeff Easley. Good guess. Yeah, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do like from normal stuff to more exotic. Yeah, these look really great. I mean, there's no lead rot here. These look just pristine. That's nice. Okay, let me grab some of the humans first. Okay, so here's you get 12 in this box. Yeah, but sometimes the foam deteriorates. This looks just perfect. Okay, so here is, I think, pretty sure a human in a spacesuit with some, maybe one of these gyrojet weapons, which I now know how to pronounce. I didn't know that last time. So I think what that feels like to me. Are there names on the back? Do they name these things? Okay, this is human kneeling, is what we got there. That's human kneeling, which is appropriately named. Of course, I shifted these guys in the box a little bit. That's fine. If you know, so if you were watching last time, you got to see me discover, learn from you guys that gyrojet weapons are real. And were actually manufactured in the 60s, and some people actually use them in Vietnam, apparently. And so I dug up a video of someone testing a gyrojet pistol and rifle on YouTube. So the link's on Discord, or maybe someone can put it in the chat right now. I can't get over the fact that those are real. And of course, apparently the guns were very simple, but the ammunition, where every bullet is a separate little rocket. The main problem is the ammunition was wildly too expensive to be viable. So apparently they're not produced anymore, but you can fire a gyrojet rifle nowadays and the bullets go for like $250 per bullet. Anywho, that's what that looks like to me. Looks pretty good. Yes, so there's clearly some flashing. That little thing on the bottom there, that's clearly flashing. I agree with that. Yeah, so I'll grab some tweezers or something and pull that off. Probably after the stream. There's on Blorpy tonight, there was a tiny little bit of flashing on the end of his pistol that I pulled off. But that has to get taken off, obviously. Yeah. Oh, really? The art's Dave Trampier. Oh, wonderful. Wow, I'm so unused to, boy, that's way zoomed in. I'm so unused to seeing him not doing, Tramp not doing fantasy stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that, right? Wow, fascinating. That's great. I bet there's probably he probably had his name on it and probably got cropped off here for the cover, I'm guessing. Oh man, I'm so glad you looked that up. Oh, I feel even better about this. Oh, what a great set. Okay, so there's that. So humans. Okay, I'm gonna avoid looking at the back because it scrambles up the miniatures in the box there. Okay, so here is a human with a pistol, and I feel it's possibly a gyrojet pistol. I mean, it can be anything you want it to be, obviously. Maybe an automatic pistol. Does he have a... That's too close, sorry. I'm trying to figure out if he's got a thing in his left hand. Because again, grenades are kind of a big thing in this game. So I'm like, does he have a grenade in his hand? I think yes, he definitely does, right? He definitely is holding something in his left hand. I see that. So I think he's got a gun and a grenade. I don't really. Got some goggles, got a backpack. That's nice. Got some kind of like 90s pant pockets. If you were reading comics at the time. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Humans. Okay, so there is. So there's our there's a woman spacefarer with a rifle, and again looks like a grenade in her left hand. So everybody's properly equipped with both guns and grenades. Very space opera, kind of getting a little bit of a Barbarella vibe out of that. That's nice. That's cool. Okay, the other set had 2 women, right? So 1 woman, 1 in a spacesuit. I think there's just, it seems to be just 1 human woman here that I see. Wait, what is this? No, I take it back. What is this? Okay, so this is clearly a human. I feel like you could read that as either gender, I feel. So kind of an exotic pistol there. Bunch of backpack stuff. That's interesting. That's like a lot of stuff there. Looks like kind of like a Star Wars-esque goggle set that they've got there. I think is what I'm reading that. Kind of a helmet. That's nice. It's like quite a bit of stuff there. Okay. All right, so there's your 4 humans. So now let's check out the Dralasites and see if we like these guys better. Man, I feel like there's a lot of grenades here. I think set 2 went grenade heavy. So here is Dralacite number 1. And seems to be having again, the Dralasites can reform their blobby shapes. So it seems to be a little bit more of a stand-up humanoid shape that this guy's picked than our kind of stubby ones that we had in the first set. So kind of has an aggressive. Does he have? Okay, so he's got 3 arms, right? So currently this guy is situated with 2 legs and 3 arms. So he's holding a rifle with 2 of his arms, right? And he's got 1 more arm ready to throw a grenade. That's neat. I like that a lot. I feel like that guy's an experienced spacefarer. He knows what he's doing. Don't move. Don't move. This guy's clearly standing taller than our prior Dralasites. I like this pose a lot, right? Only a Dralacite could do that. That's neat. Yeah, and he's way more equipped than Blorpy, right? Blorpy just has 1 belt, right? I think 1 pack and a pistol. This guy's much higher level. He's ready to go. Yeah, he's got a lot of gear. Yeah, right. Blorpy was initially a stand-up comedian. He was pulled into service. He was drafted. This guy's ready to go. Another Dralasite here. Okay, pretty similar pose actually. So again, standing taller. This guy only has 2 arms today, and he's got an exotic pistol in his right pod. Again, he's clearly holding a grenade or some kind of trigger. Get in focus, you. Now the other thing is, there's a demolition skill in this game, and I also feel this guy might have planted some of the explosive known as Tornadium T19, or Kaboomite for short. And I feel like his left pod might possibly have a trigger for some Kaboomite that he's set. Some say that it's about to have a really bad day. Again, a little flashing there. Pretty sure that's what that is. Yep. Yeah, actually a little bit of flashing on the bottom of both his left and right hands. So I can remove that. Yeah, I feel like this 1984 set is way more serious characters, right? I think someone must have said, my adventure is going to have a lot more gear than that. These guys are way more ready to go. You know, these might be nice to make molds for another time. Like possibly May next week I'll finish, Blorpy's second half, and maybe I'll cast one of these guys because they're pretty interesting with their gear. This is Blorpy's cousin Blasty. Yeah. That's great. I like that a lot. Okay, so then, let's look at Yazirians. Okay, so here is, again, Yazirians are winged space tech monkey ape characters. So here's one. Now his gun's a little misshapen there with some flash. Let me see if I can very carefully straighten that out. Oop, you know what? I accidentally knocked the flashing off. That's convenient. Okay, so one of our Yazirian characters looks possibly like a woman, maybe? I don't know. With these aliens, I can't, who knows? They're whatever gender they want to be. So you got the wings. That's interesting, Lore Pseudo. That the cover might be one of the last pieces that Tramp ever did. That's fascinating. I think they've got braids, right? I can't tell what the... Oh, I see. Okay, so so they're kind of looking upwards, right? And Yazirians tend to have overly sensitive eyes because they're supposed to have come from like a cloudy planet where they don't normally get sunlight. So most of the Yazirians in the game are almost always wearing tinted goggles to protect their eyes. So this guy's got the tinted goggles there, right? Kind of looking upwards. Right, there's the snout, there's the mouth. That seems appropriate. Kind of doing your Rory Grory thing, your Yowly Growly thing, like your Yazirians will do. So you got a rifle, got a pistol. Man, these guys are heavily armed. William, thanks for checking in. See you later. That's neat. Okay, got a second Yazirian here. Okay, so this guy's crouching a little bit. Again, got the goggles, got the monkey ears. Pretty good. Crouching a little bit, got the wings kind of folded up around them. Got a nice backpack, some pouches there, and a wickedly bent gun. Let me see if I can carefully fix that. That's super bent. Don't break it, don't break it. Very carefully. Yeah. Didn't quite get it straight. Pretty close. Yeah, that is one of the nice things about the metal miniatures is you can just bend them like that. It's pretty neat. I like there's a different pose there. All right, so this guy's kind of more maybe a scout or trying to stay hidden. Sniper. That's cool. Okay, so here's your two Yazirians. Now, the Vrusk is what I was really interested in because they're taking a different approach. Oh, is there only one? There's only one Vrusk in this set. That's interesting. No, I take it back. There are two. No. Okay. So, oh, and they're much smaller. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so in the first set, right, our Vrusk came in two parts. And they were like the size of a centaur, right? You had the torso and you had the abdomen, is that what I want to say, with the legs? Right, so this comes in just one part and it's much smaller. So, right, so the legs are, so it's kind of squatting, the legs are kind of folded up underneath it. And so I was hoping that the Vrusk in this set might be easier to make molds out of. You know, as opposed to the spindly legs that are all separate. So I do think this would be a lot easier to make a mold out of, but there's a big piece of flash right there, obviously. But it's so much smaller. I'm not sure I like how small this is. Interesting. Kind of interesting look. Right, got a rifle there. So we know that Vrusk are very socially apt. They can learn languages easily. They can usually intuit what people are thinking, and that makes them very good galactic businessmen. So this guy might be figuring out who he's got to shoot first, possibly. Interesting approach to that. Gotta take that big piece of flash off at some point. And the other one, that's a Vrusk, right? Okay, so similar approach. All right, squatting down with the legs really close to it, so it's kind of one mass. Again, got a big one of their big bulby pistols in the right claw. Got a grenade in the left claw. Kind of nice, but very small. So now I don't know. I thought I was going to crack this open and be like, yeah, these are the ones that I should make. These are the ones I should duplicate, but they're so small. Now I'm torn. Let me see. So here is our humans. Just kind of comparing the size there. So there's our humans. Here's our Dralasites here, standing a little bit taller than they did in the other set, a little bit. Still, you know, still kind of shorter. Now the Xerians are huge in this set, right? That guy's towering over everybody, and you see how small the Vrusk is in comparison. Right, in the other set, let me just grab the other set's Vrusk because the Vrusk are huge compared to everybody else there. So somebody made a choice there to make the Vrusk miniatures easy to make, but totally change their scale. So here's the 2-part one from the first set, right? That's just half of him right there, and here's this front bit right there. Right, that's a enormous. So I get, as you may know, I get irritated by scale issues, and I'm a little bit. I don't know if that's like an old Vrusk here, and these are young Vrusk or something like that. That's just a tiny bit sketchy to me. Oh, I can balance it. How about that? That's a big difference. So I think just looking at it, I think I prefer the big guy. So I might actually queue up and try to make the 2-part Vrusk miniatures. It used to be easier, but I certainly like that a lot better. Yeah, is that right? I don't have the book in front of me right now. I mean, that seems about right, the sizing. So if this Xerian is 6.5 feet, this, right, is this guy's 5 feet tall if you're being generous, and these guys are clearly not the right height. These guys are like half the size of the Xerian, right? That's a little surprising. Anyway, you know, manufacturing decision. I get it. Way easier to make. Yeah, Laura, sort of, I get surprised by the height of the Xerians because again they have a strength penalty, so I always think of them as kind of lightweight. But as we said, they're you know, skinny. They have to be light in order to glide. They've got kind of thin bird-like bones. But yeah, they're actually pretty tall. Okay, now the last two things here are of course the bad guy Cathar. Oh geez, I'm gonna do that second. Oh geez, That's really scary. What the hell is happening with this? Okay, let me just kind of push these guys to the side here. Man, these guys are kind of scary. Okay, so here's Sathar number 1. Get the focus on it. Okay, so there's your wormy bad guy with an enormous gun. That's an enormous. You know what they say? The best kill is overkill. So this guy is bringing just a gigantic heavy laser or machine gun or something like that. And right, the Sathar have like they have their snake end, and then they also I think have a total of 4 limbs. And depending on how they situate themselves, they could use some of the limbs for legs. They don't need to. So this guy apparently is using all 4 of his limbs as arms, I guess. Right, and he's got, jeez, what has he got? He's got like 2 or 3 of his arms on the giant gun. Right, this kind of flipper thing is one of his lower extremities there. So he's got 2 or 3 of the extremities on the giant gun, and then sure enough, he's got another one of his snaky arms, I believe, holding a grenade again. Or an earpiece or something. It's not, to me, it looks like he's holding a walkie-talkie to his ear. But probably that's intended to be a grenade, I'm guessing. That's frightening. That is just a really frightening gun there. And again, this guy is really big. So if I grab one of the humans, that's a Dralacite there. Pretty big. That gun's about the size of this guy's whole torso. So there's a bad guy number 1. That you know, just hypothetically, if I'm mostly going to focus on casting copies of the player character types, but geez, I don't know, how would I even do that? This loop. This loop would make me really concerned about casting that. And it's this really thin little piece with that pseudopod. Interesting. Okay, and here's the last one. Jeez. Okay, so I like, right, I don't think that the pictures in the books show this, but I like that both the Sathars here have decided to use all 4 of their limbs for stuff. Right, so they're balancing on their serpentine back part, and they're using all 4 of their limbs to manipulate things. Here's this guy. This guy's very busy. This guy's doing a whole lot of things all at once. He's multitasking well. So he's got his 4. So he's balanced on his back end. I don't even know all that stuff. He's got there. So he's got 1 limb with a pistol. I think he's got a left top thing with a grenade. Oh, you know what that is? That might be a mortar. That might be a mortar or a grenade rifle, right? So I think on his left side, it looks like he's holding a mortar or a grenade rifle, and then he's loading it with his other limb, while he's also threatening you with a laser pistol. And then I guess he has another limb just kind of just ready to do something else. Jeez, that guy's like a one-man band. He's a whole squad unto himself. You prefer the Sathar on the other set. I think they do stand taller in the other set. I like the fact that these guys are like a whole party's worth of threat. I kind of like this, honestly. Interesting. Okay, now I'm going to compare. So here's second set Sathar. Let me grab the ones from the first set. So Lor Pseudo is you're very solidly on the side of the, okay, well, look at that. So so kind of like the Vrusk, the first set Seidar are way bigger. Yeah. They're much, much bigger. So that... You think the poses are awkward? I mean, they are aliens. I actually don't mind, right? I'm willing to forgive the aliens being able to take, you know, alien poses that seem unnatural. I don't mind that part. But I do like the really big Seidar in the first set. I got to admit, I do like that. Just like I like the bigger Vrusk. These seem a little bit more threatening when they tower over the player characters. Yeah. I mean, like this guy here. Yeah, that guy's got he's got a very wormy vibe, very snaky vibe to him. Was it appropriate to get Tramp to do art for a game that has wormy guys in it? That might have been now I want to. I don't know if Tramp did a illustration for the Seidar. He should have. Yeah, you're right. This guy's pretty neat. Once I straighten this gun out, which I haven't done yet. Yeah, that's very. Yeah. Okay, you're bringing me around. That's nice. Kind of like this guy's goggles. Yeah, those you know, I got to admit, I wish these were bigger, but I kind of like the multitude of equipment that they've got. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna have to take my usually I take this tool here if I can avoid stabbing myself and do a little repair work with it. This is usually what I use for the flashing, or actually I have some tweezers. They're usually good enough. Cool. Now, so the thing that I'm going to take the Seidar off screen there. So the thing that I was really debating was when I get around to the Vrusk, and I feel like if I compare second set to first set, I really think I'm leaning towards first set. And it was more complicated for them to manufacture, right? You need some assembly required. How did I get that sticking in there before? Now I'll never do it again. Yeah. That's a terrible orientation of the camera. Yeah, I'll never do this again. Crap. Okay, so there's first set Vrusk and there's second set Vrusk, and boy, there's a big difference there. So yeah, these guys would definitely be easier to mold, but this, oh, I'd like that so much more. So I think that if in a couple of weeks, I might revisit this, but I think in a couple of weeks, once I get my mold making chops back, I think I might actually queue up to try to make this first set Vrusk. Yeah, maybe one from each set. Maybe big guy, smaller guy. Yeah, maybe I could possibly start with these. Start with that guy. That'd be pretty easy. But then I think I want to see this. Is what I want to see. So that's my plan. So I might. Now I do like the Dralasites in this second set, right? I do like the much more heavily equipped Dralasites. Seems a little bit more adventure-y. Right, and particularly this guy who's got 3 arms currently with big rifle and grenade. That's neat. So I think, if I was going to make another Dralacite up, I might pick out one of the second set Dralasites, like possibly this guy. That seems fresh. The Yazirians seem fine either way, and then I kind of like this Vrusk here. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking tonight for player characters going forward. Oh, one Sathar from each set. Yeah, I like that. Sathar, and again, Sathar is going to be a little bit of a back burner for me. You know, for bad guys, I feel like I can almost grab anything. But I want to for the player characters, I want to have the players kind of be familiar with what they look like. So I'm going to certainly front load the player character types. Sathar, yeah, nice. You no, you made me break my rust. I'm you know what? I'm going to turn around. I might have my whole party be off Rusk as possibility. I'm wondering, can I guess, right? So for players that I've known for a long time who have never played Star Frontiers, can I guess what race they're each going to pick? That's the question. Like, I wonder what Max is going to pick. Just for starters. So our friend Max, who's been on our channel in a number of different roles in the past. I don't know. I don't know. I bet Max will go either human or Yserian. I bet he'll pick something that's kind of more humanoidy. You know, he tends to do like scam artist type things. I don't know. I should avoid guessing because I'll probably get it wrong. Yeah, it depends. So around, you know, modern party sizes. So we normally have 4 or 5 or 6 players participating. Depends on the week when we play. Play every other week. So probably we'll have 4 plus. So it would be possible that we'd get one of each. We should throw a Yserian in. One of these giant second set Yserians. There's a human. Get a little glue there. So I could possibly have one of each, maybe. Would be a possibility. You know, and then, I don't know, possibly even more important is like what skill sets do they take? Because Star Frontiers doesn't have levels, but it does have... How did I get that? How did I get you to stand up? Once I started pounding the table, it was... Okay. Gonna be a full party of Dralasites. Maybe so. Maybe so. They might. I mean, when I'm a player, I tend to fill in, so I tend to let everybody else choose, frankly, and then I pick whatever's left over for a race or a class. So I don't know if people pick up on me doing that and might possibly do the same thing. So I bet I'll have one of each. Would be my initial guess. Yeah. Party full of Dralasites. Party like the blobs. Cool. Okay, so I think that's the plan going forward. So we have, for tonight, this is setting pretty well. So we've got, again, Blorpy is resting comfortably inside the first half of our mold. So I'll let that cure again for the week. Kind of being super, super careful about it. Yeah, Laura said, I'm a cleric a lot. Yeah, right? I actually am frequently a cleric when I play. And I think I've said it before, my longest running player character ever was actually a cleric. I mean, part of the thing is I think clerics are a little bit overpowered. So if it's a possibility, I do actually tend to be either fighter or cleric. I guess it tends to be, for me, it's probably cleric, fighter, wizard is pretty good. If nobody else wants to queue up for the spell complications, then I'll take a wizard. And I actually don't think I've ever played a thief. I don't think. Yeah, I do. I do actually play cleric a lot, is the funny thing. Even though, as you know, if you're new to the stream, I ban them from my own D&D games. We had a team. We formed a team to go to the D&D tournament at Gen Con one year. This was years ago, right? And this is the 3rd edition era. And my opinion was that dwarves were overpowered, and that clerics were way overpowered in 3rd edition. So I was arguing that we should all come with a team of entirely dwarven clerics. And I couldn't get everybody entirely on board with that. But I got them on board with we're all dwarves, right? And I took the cleric and everybody else took a mix of classes. So we did actually show up at Gen Con one year with a team entirely in character of dwarven brothers, right? And we drove a van from, I think, Boston out to Indiana, and we just practiced our dwarven speech all the way. Right, to get our characters right. So when we stepped up to the table, we were fully in character with the dwarven brothers that we developed. But I wanted them to be clerics. I didn't quite get that. So yeah, I contain multitudes. Multitudes of clerics. Which is enough. Nobody else should do that. Just I should be the only cleric player around. Anyway, you get that. I've talked about this before. You don't need me to tell you this. So yeah, so we'll cure this, and we'll come back next time. And since I did that in about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe I'll make the other half to Blorpy's mold, and maybe I'll get started on the first half of possibly one of the Azerians, right? Working my way up to from simpler to more complicated stuff. So maybe I'll start with one of the Azerian models next time. And then 2 weeks from now, hopefully I'll be casting Blorpy. And there'll be some experimentation, right? I'll cast it and it won't work exactly right. And I'll modify the mold, probably cast it. Like we said, it cools down surprisingly fast. So I can usually test it pretty quickly. So that's the plan going forward. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here tonight. Thanks for joining us, checking on the air quality again. Looks good. So again, I've had my window open all night here. I tend to run hot, so I tend to put out more heat than I need. So I'm pretty comfortable here. The air quality's been green all night, so I think this process seems to be working pretty well. I'm going to get off. I'm going to, again, clean up kind of carefully. I'm going to wash my hands carefully because I've had both molding agent and, been handling these lead miniatures. So I'll, kind of be careful about that. And we'll plan to cycle back around next week for part 2 of Blorpy. So again, don't forget, Paul and I will be back for more Wandering DMs this Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So hopefully you'll check in with that. Again, check out our website, wanderingdms.com. Check out our various social media. Again, we stream here on YouTube and Twitch all the time is what we do. Check out our Patreon if you're in a position to chip in $1 per month would be wonderful. Patreon.com/wanderingdms. If you're one of our patrons, I'll see you in our Discord server in the chat, talking about stuff all the time as we do. And look forward to other ideas for which models I should make in the future, or what I should use the excess rubber for, because apparently that's always going to happen. And I will look forward to seeing you there. And I'll look if you can join in the live stream next Thursday. I look forward to seeing you next time. Cool. Thanks for joining in. See you later. Have a good week, everybody.